So you want to get yourself a tourist SIM card in the United Arab Emirates or just UAE for sure, but you're just wondering, well, do they even offer tourist SIM cards? Well, I can already tell you yes, but which operators offer tourist SIM cards and what are your options? Well, in this video we will be talking about the tourist SIM cards in the UAE. So let's just get started, shall we? Hi! It's Adu from Phone Travelers here, where we talk about everything related to traveling with your phone, such as buying a tourist SIM card in the UAE. If videos like this sound interesting to you, make sure to subscribe to this channel. There are many countries or many operators around the world that offer tourist SIM cards dedicated for tourists or short-term visitors visiting their countries, and the UAE is one of them. But before we even talk about the tourist SIM cards, we first need to know about the operator situation in the UAE and know which operators actually sell tourist SIM cards. So in the UAE you have 4 different operators. You have Etisalat UAE, Do, Virgin Mobile UAE and Swyp. Only Etisalat and Do offer tourist SIM cards, so I won't be talking about Virgin Mobile and Swyp. So what type of tourist SIM cards do we have? Well, Etisalat has 2 different options, whereas Do has 3 different options. So let's just take a look. With Etisalat you have the visitor line starting from 125 EAD and 200 EAD. Not sure why I said starting from, because well, only 2 options, featuring data, flexi minutes and Wi-Fi hours. And one thing you need to be aware of, that even though the package says that it's valid for 30 days, the SIM card will be tied to the validity of your visa. So let's say your visa is valid for 14 days, then the package will be valid for 14 days. If it's longer than 30 days, then well, you have to buy the package multiple times. With Do, you have to do tourist SIM card coming in 3 different versions, starting from 55 EAD all the way up to 110 EAD. And maybe wondering, well, what about the free tourist SIM cards that were given away at Dubai International Airport? I'm not sure if they are still a thing at the time of recording because, well, the whole pandemic stuff, but you were able to indeed get a tourist SIM card for free with these benefits that I'm showing you on the screen. But if you're out of these benefits, which well will most likely be the case, then you would have to buy one of these packages that I showed earlier, which also act as a package and a starter SIM card. So what about the tourist packages? Well, when you get one of these tourist SIM cards, you can only buy dedicated tourist packages, so you cannot buy any of the regular packages offered by Etisalat or Do, which are many. You would have to get a regular SIM card for that. And I do have to tell you that there are many good options when you get yourself a regular SIM card in the UAE, which, well, I might even recommend instead of getting a tourist SIM card. If you want to learn more about that, check this video up there where I talk much more in depth about those. But let's just see what type of packages they are offered. If you have the Etisalat visitor line, then you have these packages showing on the screen, featuring data and flexi minutes. I almost forgot to mention what flexi minutes actually stands for. Flexi minutes are minutes that can be used for local use and international use, meaning that you can call to more than 100 countries around the world with your flexi minute allowance. On the screen I will show you a list of the flexi destinations with one of the 2 operators, but there's like a very small difference between Do and Etisalat. I think there's like 1 or 2 countries that are missing from one of these operators, but you can just take this as the base, flexi minute destination list. So what about Do? Well, Do, the starter SIM cards also act as the packages, so I will just show you them again. But besides that, there are no other packages that are available. So where to get yourself a tourist SIM card in the UAE? If you fly into the international airport, so Abu Dhabi International Airport or Dubai International Airport, the salespeople will most likely or almost not sell you the regular SIM cards there, because well, they only sell tourist SIM cards, unless you are able to convince them, which well, you can try. But you can also go to the official stores of these operators. So you go to an Etisalat store or a Do store in Abu Dhabi, Dubai or somewhere else in the UAE that you're visiting, and there you are able to buy tourist SIM cards as well. But be sure to bring your passport with you, because SIM card registration is mandatory in the UAE, just like most places around the world, and especially in the Middle East. And be also prepared to get your fingerprints taken, because that's also part of the SIM card registration thing. So yeah, well, which tourist SIM card would I actually recommend? If you would actually get yourself a tourist SIM card, I would recommend going with Do, because you have more options and they also have better SIM cards. With Etisalat, the SIM card is tied to the validity of your visa. If you have a short-term visa, let's say, I know, 14 days, which I used earlier, then well, the SIM card will expire after 14 days. Whereas the Do SIM card has a validity of 90 days, which can also be extended with another 90 days. So it can be a total of 180 days, even though you don't stay in the UAE for such a long time and you decide to come back every now and then you can still use the same phone number as long as it's still active. Whereas with Etisalat, you will most likely have to buy a new SIM card and then, well, they have to use a different phone number. In case like that, it might be better to get yourself a regular SIM card. but Etisalat has quite a strict policy with those who are a short-term visitor in the UAE, that they will just sell you the tourist SIM card. So that's why I also recommend Do More, because they're more flexible and more willing to sell you a regular SIM card if you want such a SIM card. Well, I've been talking about regular SIM cards a lot, and I didn't even talk about the MVNOs, so Virgin Mobile and Swyp. And you may be wondering, well, maybe those are better options for me. So how can I get myself a regular SIM card, or maybe an in-depth guide to buying a SIM card in the UAE? Well, you came to the right place, because I've made such a video as well, which you can watch up there, where I talk much more about buying a SIM card in the UAE, where I also talk about coverage, speeds, internet packages, regular internet packages of course, and everything else you need to know about buying a SIM card in the UAE. So make sure to check that video up there. If you prefer to read, make sure to go to ptw.link/UAE-guide, where you can read my in-depth written guide about buying a SIM card in the UAE. So I would recommend you to use one of these two resources. Once again, I'm Audio for Phone Travelers, where we talk about everything related to traveling with your phone, such as local SIM cards, local SIM card reviews, international roaming, speed tests, just everything related to traveling with your phone. I would really recommend you to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with the best local SIM cards all over the world. On the screen you'll see some related cards. Make sure to like the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.